This is the RV Advisor Podcast with your host, Tom Alexander. Get all the latest information, trends, advice from experts, stories from the road, and more in the world of recreational vehicles. Now, here's Tom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RV Advisor Podcast. My name is Tom Alexander, and I am joined today by the friends from Mobile Sessions. Mobile Sessions is a recording studio that is mobile, as evidenced by their name. And we're joined by Christine Hufenbecher and Kenny Moran. And they are partners in this really interesting studio and business endeavor. And welcome, folks.
Hi, good morning.
Thanks for having us.
It is great to have you. And we are really looking forward to diving in. This might be a little unusual for some of our viewers, some of our listeners. It's most certainly RV related, but in a very, I think, fun way. As most of the viewers here know and listeners know that I'm a musician myself, so this is extra special for me. Get to talk to these two wonderful folks. Tell us about the origin of Mobile Sessions.
What? You go ahead, Christine.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'll start with that one. So we actually come from different backgrounds. Kenny and I, we met about 3 or 4 years ago. I come from the artist management side. Kenny comes from the audio engineering side of things. And when we met, we had this idea of starting some kind of studio project together. We met through a mutual producer here in LA at Henson Studios. And just by looking into rentals around Los Angeles and what it would take to come up with something like that, it kind of stalled for a minute, and then we came up with this mobile studio project just because we had the vehicle already. Mm-hmm. And one day, just by default of thinking, how cool would it be for a songwriter to be able to write at the beach or on top of a mountain and just get some new inspiration? How cool would it be to have a studio built inside of a vehicle? And the RV, it's a 30-foot RV, was there already. So I asked Kenny, do you think we could do this? And he said, absolutely. I've built studios. Let's do it. And he made it happen within 9 months. Wow. His own hands, just coming off and on tour. He was on tour back then with Earth, Wind & Fire. And every time he came back, he would build something new into it and ripped out the whole back bedroom and turned it into a control room. And then we officially launched in 2019, January 2019. So Kenny can tell you a little bit about the whole process.
Yeah.
That was not an easy task to take on.
I'll bet. Yeah, Kenny, take us through that whole process there.
Well, it was quite the endeavor. Obviously, I think most people who own RVs, I've never owned an RV before at all. Yeah. But I did. A friend of mine owns a company in Canada that's actually called Live Wire, and it's a studio and an 18-wheeler. So I've seen the idea that it can happen. And my only thing to Christine at the time was, if we're going to do this, I need carte blanche to be able to rip anything out if it's in the way. And there was a lot in the way.
Yeah.
As it began, there was, I did a couple of designs first on how this could work in terms of just the size and then the acoustics of it. But since people who own RVs, every time you open something, there's something that's uncharted in there. There's a pipe, or there's a cabling, or there's a wire, or something. And there's not, a consistent schematic. So either way, I ripped out the entire surface. The entire back was completely bare down to almost the outside walls, and right up to the kitchen, but leaving the bathroom. In case. So we left the bathroom in case. But that entailed a whole lot. So, in the back bedroom, depending on what RV you have, underneath the bed is the electrical system, the whole 110 electrical system and fuse panel. So I had to take that all out and move that, because it was essentially in the middle of the room. So move that entire apparatus of all the powering there, and we moved that over to one side above where the heater system is.
Wow.
and then the hydraulic slide out, it's kind of like an L shape, cut off the entire L. So the floor, when you're walking into the back and to the front, is all one level. Yeah. So the hydraulic system now is only on that side, but doesn't protrude. So that was a big deal, cutting that all out and figuring and all that. And, so it kind of went like that. And then once I had the basic shape, then started building everything back acoustically and basically using every inch and less of space that we could to get the acoustics. There was a couple of changes along the way. We thought we had it done. We thought we had it right. And when the console arrived, it was 6 inches deeper in height. And because of those 6 inches, we had to rip out the entire back wall and redo it.
That's incredible. It almost sounds like you needed an electrical engineering degree with all the stuff that you did beyond just being a musical engineer.
Right.
It really sounds like you know your way around that aspect of it too. I mean, I've encountered many engineers in my time, but they may be able to build a studio, but you went really beyond that and having to actually, kind of adjust infrastructure and everything. I mean, it was just an awful lot. So where did you learn all that stuff, man?
I've had a very interesting life. It's always been music related, but both my grandfathers were carpenters. One of them was a musician as well. So, I'm one of four, and my mom had each one of us building something. We all had different things, but for as long as I can remember, we always had something, and she encouraged us to build. Yeah. My father was a musician. So I grew up like that, doing all those kinds of things. And then when I went to, after high school, I went to college and I went to university. In Canada, it's a little bit different. There's two different levels of things. You can think of university as Ivy League and college as...
Where did you go? Where'd you go?
I went to Oscar Peterson School of Jazz University. I'm a trombone player first and first.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, I went to the Harris Institute for the Arts of Recording.
Yeah.
And when I was there, there was a bunch of things we had to take. I already had a lot of knowledge of things going on at that point, but I had to take electrical engineering. That was part of being an engineer.
So so that answers that question.
And it's pretty much like audio. It really is, if you break it down to just plus, minus, and negative. It's like hooking up a speaker. The kicker was, at first we were looking at it, and I knew that how are we going to make a studio electrically work on top of a car's electrical? Because the foundation is different. How it's grounded is a big deal. So in a car of any kind, it's completely different than you would in a house.
Right. Gotcha.
So I, after scraping my head around this, I moved the electrical everywhere I needed it to be. And then I called my friend over from Livewire and I said, how on earth did you do the electrical? How did you attach it to the truck? And he just sent me a message and said, I didn't make it separate.
That's the key. That is the key.
Yeah, that is the key. And
that is the
wow.
key.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the light opened up and it just said, wow. So we have two transformers in there that run the entire studio and the air conditioner. One is for the studio. It's a 3,000 watt backup APS that runs the entire studio. And if we lose power, it gives us about 15 minutes of the entire studio running.
Wow, isn't that something? Man, that's great.
Yeah. And then the air is on a different transformer. So it none touch. It's really simple when you get down to it. Mm-hmm. It sounds way more difficult when you're looking at it, but that was it. And once that was done, it was just putting the rest of the acoustic and aesthetics together.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Our
Anybody
guests
that owns an RV knows that you kind of have to be a tinkerer because something is always breaking down or you have to troubleshoot something. This is another level of tinkering that Kenny's very good at.
Well, that's good to know. It's good
Yeah.
to have that go-to person
Yeah.
on board. We're speaking with Kenny Moran and Christine Hufenbecher, and they are from Mobile Sessions based in Los Angeles, California. And Christine, before we go to break, I do want to find out, we learned a little bit about Kenny's background and coming into this. Are you a musician, or what got you into this, and tell us a little bit about your background coming in? I know that you said that you were in in the
Yeah.
artist development side, I believe, or management.
Yes, management. Music has always been part of my life as well. I started playing piano when I was 8 years old, and classically trained in Germany. And when I moved to the States, I kind of stopped playing, never did it professionally, always just as a hobby, but music was always part of my family life and in my blood. So always my passion. So when I went to school, and once I moved here from Germany, I went to college in Pennsylvania, Dickinson College, and then NYU for music marketing. And after I graduated from NYU, I started working at a music marketing agency. I worked at a publishing company. And then I met one of Lady Gaga's early managers, who moved me from New York to LA to manage producers and songwriters with him. And that was kind of the open door to the whole LA music scene, and meeting publishers and A&Rs and writers, and doing producer writer management for the last seven years or so. And then when I started having kids and had to kind of get out of the management scene, because that's a 24/7 job.
I would think so.
Yeah, and the studio business was always in the back of my mind too. And Kenny just kind of came into my life at the right time when we both had similar goals, and still allows us to be in the whole writing circle and around the creative community, but do it in a completely different, new way, and kind of fits into this whole new normal that we're getting into now with quarantine life and, social distancing, which we can do with this recording studio by just plugging into a person's house and run our lines into the house, or go out to Malibu Hills and just record in the middle of nowhere. So interesting time for us, for sure.
I'm sure it is. We're going to learn a lot more about that on the other side. We're going to take a quick break. Our guests are Kenny Moran and Christine Hufenbecher from Mobile Sessions. And we'll be back right after these words. This is the RV Advisor Podcast. Back in a moment.
RV owners, it's no secret that those manufacturers' warranties just don't cut it. Get the peace of mind you deserve and step up to the RV Advisor Extended Warranty Plan. Visit thervadvisor.com or call 833-229-0911. That's 833-229-0911.
We're back on the RV Advisor Podcast, and RV being the operative phrase here because the RV Mobile Studio is something that we may have seen in the past, but the way our two guests are doing things these days is pretty unusual and I think trailblazing. And our guests are Kenny Moran and Christine Hufenbecher from Mobile Sessions in LA. And right before the break, we had sort of alluded to the fact that, obviously we're all dealing with this pandemic. I trust you guys, everybody, hopefully in your immediate universes are well. But obviously we have to make adjustments, and, it's changed business models. It's sadly taken some businesses out. But you guys have a kind of a facility that maybe can sustain and endure through this kind of thing. So tell us a little bit about how, in this current situation we're all in, you guys are making those adjustments.
Well, it did affect us dramatically at first. As Christian said, we launched in 2019 at NAMM, and then this year, in 2020, we were there again, and we had struck several deals that were large. And
tell folks who may not know what NAMM is, the non-musicians. It's a huge event every year in LA.
Yes, It's actually the biggest music manufacturing event in the country, and it's the second largest in the world. But it started out as music manufacturing, but it's really about introducing products to the public,
Right.
and also introducing the public to all of their largest idols that are endorsed by the companies.
Yeah.
So it's really a win-win situation for people to go, even if you're not, say, a store trying to sell some kind of gear. You may be, you know, a fan of Stevie Wonder kind of thing, and he's there every single year.
Yeah.
And he's not there doing, you know, really doing much other than saying hello to people and walking around, and it's really interesting to see him interact. And it's like that for, you know, almost every top brand has a top artist.
Sure.
So, you know, so we have been there, and that's a real focal point to start our year. And so this year we were really scheduled to do all kinds of things, both musically, but also event-wise, that were like that, because the studio is such a new idea in terms of, you know, a fully professional recording studio in an RV, that we had companies looking at us saying, hey, could we have you show up at an event? Could you be our green room? Could you be our personal Fender studio at this festival, or so on and so forth? So we were slated to do a bunch of those, and all of those were canceled. As everyone knows, everything was canceled.
Yeah.
All tours were canceled. All events were canceled. I mean, the music industry ground to a halt. Let's just say everyone's industry ground to a halt. But for musicians who make their living, you know, playing in a bar on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's no outlet whatsoever. And same on the larger scale of things. So we quickly had to think, well, what can we do? And then it's like, well, we're unique. Our idea is to mobily go and record or mix or master or whatever. So because we have the ability to show up in front of someone's house and plug right into a bedroom outlet and run the studio,
Yeah.
we don't actually have to have any contact. So what we have been promoting are several fronts of that. But what we have successfully been doing is and we just did one of these yesterday, where we'll pull up in front of a client's house. We are completely masked and gloved as we bring in 2 lines. And bringing in 2 lines lets us run all the headphone mixes for the artist, as well as plugging up to 32 microphones.
Wow.
Once we set up the room, disinfect, we leave. The artist comes into the room. We have full contact, full recording of capability. Now that is the real part that sets us apart, say, from you know, other mobile ideas where they'll say, hey, we have a van and we have a bus, you can all come inside and we can do something. We can do that as well, but we don't have to. And so that is starting to garner some good looks from various things, everything from individual artists to the record labels.
It sure sounds like it, and that's sort of differentiating you folks from the competition. And I'm intrigued by all this. I know some of this inside chatter is a little, maybe, you know, not super familiar to all of our listeners and viewers, but I find, you know, unbelievably interesting. And I know some of we have a lot, since we a majority of our viewers and listeners are RVers. They're no stranger to, we've had actual other musicians on, and a lot of country artists and so forth, and rock artists. And I know that there's a great love for that music as well, and so
Absolutely.
you know, and I'm just going to shift a little bit over to the side, and you can see I've got part of my rack of keyboards over here for the people watching.
I saw it.
What's that?
I saw it as soon as we dialed in.
Yeah. So I got the Casio Privia there, and an old Korg on top, and out of view is another keyboard, and I've got my Rhodes sitting over here. Anyway,
Nice.
if I could do a whole mobile thing, I'm guessing, through all kinds of, I could be sitting here in South Florida and you guys are in LA, and through the technology today, if I had the right interface, I assume, I can plug in and I guess ultimately get to you guys, right? Or I could send you files,
Yes.
or I could, is that, how would
With the
that work?
technology, there's any manner that you can now do with
Yeah.
today's technology, as long as you have internet access.
Mm-hmm.
There's several ways that we can actually be working in real time together. Or you can just say, hey, I've recorded all my songs and here's all the files, I'll send them to you. And then we can, we can mix those things for you or master them for you. I know that's probably not a term that most RVers know, but essentially when you do the whole recording of the band or of the group to get it ready for everyone to listen to, it goes through that process, and we make it sound like it's ready for radio.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They may not know mastering and mixing, but they certainly hear the end result.
They absolutely do.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Christine. Just recently, Mobile Sessions was featured in Rolling Stone magazine. And so you guys have been, like Kenny alluded earlier, you've been getting some good looks, you've been getting some press, and people are learning more and more about you and your operation. Tell us how the whole Rolling Stone article went down, and what's the outcome been in terms of on your end, spreading the word and letting people know that you guys are out there. And then I have a follow-up to that as well.
Okay, yeah, we've actually gotten some press before. We don't have a whole PR, marketing, promo team here. It's just Kenny and I doing everything. I obviously focus more on the business side and marketing side of things because I'm not an engineer.
Yeah.
And Kenny handles all the technical things and running the sessions. So Rolling Stone happened. It's a funny story. I subscribed to Rolling Stone, and I read a story about how record labels and artists are adjusting to the pandemic and getting albums done and just getting work done remotely. And there were a few A&Rs just talking about how difficult it is to get some artists to get things done. A lot of people have home studios, so they can do things themselves from home. But when it comes to actually coming up with a final product, like Kenny said, mixing and mastering, and even being able to hook up a mic or run cables, most people will get caught up somewhere and frustrated. So you need an engineer and you need a professional to do that for you. So just reading about labels dealing with this and coming up with new solutions. So I ended up emailing the editor and saying, hey, keep us in mind. We're a mobile recording studio. We're right here. Mm-hmm. Just basically putting us on her radar. Yeah. And she hit us back within 24 hours and she said, this is very intriguing. Can you guys talk tomorrow? So we ended up doing an hour interview with her and just running through everything. And her boyfriend happens to be a musician also. So that was even more interesting to her. Sure. And how he's getting work done right now. So that's how Rolling Stone happened. But it's just interesting because so many people, even starting back in March, started quickly adjusting the way they do things and doing live streaming, Instagram Live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and just recording remotely, and which is great. But a lot of people ended up doing the same thing. And many times the audio and the video quality is not really up to par, but it's cool to still stay connected to the fans. So the way that we were promoting our business was that you can do that, but on a high quality level, not just with audio, but also with video. We have a couple of video directors and videographers that can help out with the streaming side of things and getting a quality piece of video. So, and then with the audio, that's a piece of cake for us. We'll just plug into a house, or you send us files or whatever it is. So, yeah, that's something that we were talking about to artists and labels, and now also to brands, because brands are still trying to find new ways. What is the new normal for us to get our brand message out? And get away from the live event side of things and do things digitally and still be able to connect on a human level with our customers.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of opportunity out there that we can attach to, just client by client and word of mouth mostly right now.
Yeah.
Like you.
Before we go, two quick questions. Have you done any soundtrack work? Have you done any kind of work for films or television or anything like that, where an artist will come in and either it's soundtrack music or it's perhaps a song, an actual written song for a film or a TV show or something like that? Has that happened yet?
For TV, last year we did that. Kenny, you did that last year with Tom, right? For,
Yeah, there was a composer out of New York for a TV show.
Interesting.
And so we did the music. It was remote. He did some of the music there,
Right.
but he wanted a couple of particular players that are here in Los Angeles. So went to the client's place again, set up there at the client's place here in LA, and had an internet feed so that he could be working with them directly. And we did all the recording, and then we sent all the files back. So just like we were talking about, but yes, that was for a TV show.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So let folks know where they can find you online and learn more about mobile sessions.
www.gomobilesessions.com. We're on Instagram at Mobile Sessions. We're on Facebook at Mobile Sessions. We're on YouTube. And that's it. We don't have a Twitter.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you got plenty. That's plenty. You're doing.
Yeah, I think it's pretty covered, and we do a bunch of different things. One of our, I'm gonna get this in here for us. One of our focuses is music access to kids, music access for education.
Great.
A couple of the things we were doing this year, and they're going to happen, they were postponed as opposed to canceled, is working with Grammy U, which is, the Grammys. They have a whole education slant. We are going to be doing things in joint with them, where we will be bringing the studio to kids who otherwise wouldn't be able to get into a studio.
Yeah.
And do an entire educational side of things. Actually, we're going to do that with, I think, 3 different schools. I think we had lined up 3 different university level schools. We're also doing tutorials that are on our YouTube channel. So if you want to learn something about Pro Tools or something that we're looking at, we're doing educational tutorials. And we even have a call in if you're trying to do something at home and you just can't figure it out. You can call us. It's, we know where we started and how we, first were when, 30 years ago, when I was just starting to be a real gigging musician and things like that, and you're learning all these different things. There's a lot. There's so much to try and figure out, even after you already know how to play an instrument.
Yeah. Oh,
you're about halfway there once you know how to play.
No doubt. It's an ongoing education, not just the music part, which I try to learn a little. So I always say, if I can know a little more today than I did yesterday, I'm doing all right. Yeah. But beyond just the music, the business and everything around it and all the periphery is an ongoing education, no question. Well, listen, folks. Yeah, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Continued success with Mobile Sessions. Love to have you on again. And let us
know when you're out here in Los Angeles.
I certainly will. I definitely will. And we'll talk offline about that as well. All right, folks. Our guests were Christine Hufenbecher, and I got that right?
Yes.
You've done so well.
Yeah. And Kenny, let me see if I get this last name.
Did. Yes,
Kenny Moran. Okay, we got it. Thank you so much. From Mobile Sessions, folks. My name's Tom Alexander. This is the RV Advisor Podcast. We'll see you next time. Awesome. So long, everybody.